Hello everyone and welcome to the Market Wrap for Tuesday, the 28th of July. And look, it was another positive day for the Aussie market, ending higher by around 0.6%. Now remember, yesterday we did have that solid start to the week when we're up by something like 1.4% for our best day in about 6 weeks. So a little bit softer today, but still an improvement nonetheless, ending at 8,947 points. Now, it's been quite an interesting day, in fact, because we did actually start the session down by 0.4% in the morning, and then we actually started improving from around 1:05 p.m. to be precise, which actually coincided with Michelle Bullock's speech at a fundraising lunch. And this was quite an interesting reaction to see the share market improving, because she warned that further softening in the jobs market and easing of demand would be required to return inflation to target. She warned of weak productivity growth, and she also raised questions about whether the 3 rate hikes we've already seen this year would be enough to get inflation to the RBA's target. And she was also pretty explicit in saying the board would act as required, including by increasing the cash rate further if needed. So essentially putting another rate hike potentially on the table as soon as August. But look, ahead of this data coming out, market expectations was about a 25 to 30% chance of a rate hike in August, which is just about 2 weeks away, and now that's increased to about a 37% chance of a rate hike. So quite an interesting reaction from the market to actually lift on the back of rate hike expectations. But all of this information today just makes tomorrow's inflation data all the more important. So we will have to wait and see what comes out of that. Now, I did also want to point out that today's improvement did come on the back of quite a big turnaround story for the financial space. In fact, this morning financials were down by something like 0.7%, and not only did they reverse those losses, but the sector actually rose by almost 1% today, up 0.92% to be exact. So that was really the catalyst for our market improving. And also in the morning we saw more than half of the sectors down, but by the end of the session only 2 of them ended lower. As you can see, materials down by around 1.3%, but of course this does follow a solid gain yesterday when the materials were up something like 2.5%, and utilities ending almost completely flat, down by less than 0.1%. But energy rose 1.6%, bouncing back from yesterday's 3% drop despite oil prices continuing to slide. They're currently sitting roughly around $87 a barrel, and notably consumer discretionary, healthcare and telcos finished the day with a gain of more than 2%. Now, looking at some of the individual winners, Viva Energy rose most after delivering a strong trading update, with first half earnings expected to more than double compared with a year ago. So Viva Energy up 8.6%. WiseTech was in second place despite having its target price cut, but its share price has been struggling for the past year or so, so do keep that in mind. Web Travel extended its gains after soaring by over 9% yesterday. It rose another 17% today after forecasting first half underlying earnings of $80 to $86 million, and also announced plans to buy back up to $90 million of its shares, saying it believes its current share price actually undervalues the business. So Web Travel sitting roughly at its best level since February, and mineral sands producer Iluka posted a strong beat on second quarter sales, which saw its share price lift by over 5%. On the other end of things, DroneShield slumped 13% to its lowest level since December after quite a mixed trading update. Now, its revenue in the first half, according to preliminary results, rose 74% compared to the same time last year. It also announced that it has received a package of contracts totaling $23.2 million. But what investors focused on was its gross margins, which estimated to come in at 60% compared to 65% last year. So a rough day for DroneShield, which is also shaping up to be one of the worst performers this month, down 25% month to date, but this is after lifting something like 300% over the course of last year. And finally, Whitehaven Coal fell today despite reaching the top end of its production guidance. Now, the Aussie dollar has lost a bit of ground since this time yesterday. It's currently buying 69.7 US cents. And of course, tomorrow's inflation data could certainly be a test for our currency, given that it is of course sensitive to shifting interest rate expectations. So we'll wait and see what happens. But from here, it's going to be a busy 24 hours. We have inflation data coming out tomorrow. That's going to be in the spotlight in the local picture. That'll be at 11:30 a.m. Sydney time, not only for the month of June, but also the June quarter. So that's something that the RBA is going to be watching very closely, especially after Michelle Bullock's speech today and with their meeting about 2 weeks away. Now, ahead of this, CBA economists expect headline inflation to come in steady at 4% year on year, while the trim mean is expected to lift slightly from 3.6% to 3.7% year on year. We also have Rio Tinto out with their half year results tomorrow for the unofficial start of reporting season, which of course officially kicks off in August, and then plenty going on later in the week with big tech earnings and a Fed decision as well. But I think that's a wrap for today, and we'll see you again tomorrow.